If you have experienced a divorce, you know the struggle is real. And this is not a story of divorce. This is the story of a lawyer that turned divorce advocate. If you know someone that is currently representing themselves in family court or has a lawyer that is not representing them well, you need to give Tracey a call. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Pursuing Joy, where we discuss audacious stories of joy-infused strength. Welcome, Tracey, to the Pursuing Joy studio. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us where you're located
Yes,
and what you are currently doing.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm in New Jersey. I'm originally from New York, actually. But so right now, by profession, I am a lawyer. I used to practice family law in the New York City area, but now I am what you call a strategist, a pro state family court strategist. And I've been doing that for the last 6 years. What is that? Because it's the term that most people don't understand exactly what that is. So I'm a step down from a lawyer because I can't represent people in different parts of the country. But as a strategist, I can, because all I'm really doing is focusing on what I call the legal void or the non-legal aspects of divorce and custody, which is, a cross between a divorce coach and an actual attorney. I do a little bit more than the divorce coach does, but I don't represent people. So I am, a strategist. And strategist is because I really focus on the legal void, but it's more of an analytical role. It's beyond a coach, because coaches really focus on the emotional and the tactical and practical. Well, I go beyond that. And I help people work on the analytical parts of the non-legal analytical parts of their case. And specifically for those who are self-represented, but I do work with people who have an attorney as well. And I've been doing this successfully for the past 6 years. I've learned a lot, but this is probably my mission in life, because I'm at that stage in life where I need to find something that was way more fulfilling. And this is it. I found it finally. So all the years of trying different things, this is it. I found it. So
Yes. And I feel like a lot of times the paths that lead us to that pivotal moment are what was, preparing us along the way. So I think when you were describing to me what you do, I was thinking of a divorce doula, in the sense that when you're giving birth, you don't have to have a doula, to make that happen. And you have other support systems, but that doula is there to advocate specifically for what you desire, what you want, the ultimate outcome that you're going towards. And as I have been talking to more people in the legal space, you would assume that a lawyer is doing that, but that is not their job description, right? So, and I honestly, I did not realize people actually did self-representation. So can you kind of walk us through why someone going through a divorce, male and female, might need you or an advocate overall?
sure. So what I always preface this discussion with is letting people know that what most people think about family court doesn't change until they're actually in family court, right? Because most people think that just the title itself, family court, okay, the kids are a priority, keeping the family intact, or, at least civilly intact, even though they're separate, is the ideal and goal of family court. It is not. Family court is really, it's not functioning the way ideally it should. It's a bunch of hypocrisy and, and dysfunction and all that stuff. So people realize it when they're I don't want to say too late, but it's almost too late. They're usually, when they find me or they're looking for more than representation, is when they've already spent $25,000, $30,000 and nothing has happened. Nothing has gone their way. There hasn't been any movement. Things are disappointing, eye-opening, you name it. And so that's when they usually venture out to find something or someone who's actually going to help them address their real concerns in a way that's going to get some real outcomes. And that's where I come in at, because what I do with people is I tell them the truth, but I also get them to understand that family court is a system, and they need to understand how that system works and how they need to operate within that system. Because just going to family court, even with an attorney, just going there and thinking you're just going to advocate and present and show evidence, that's not it. You still have to understand the design. You still have to understand the structure, the process, the procedures, and tailor everything I just said based on that. And so that's what I do. I will admit, I did not do that when I was practicing law. I didn't do that. I didn't have the time. All my job was, as you said, to go in and advocate, to make legal arguments, and that's it. I didn't care about the nuances, about what the judge is seeing or understanding, the nuances that were affecting my client, even from a non-legal aspect or outside of the courtroom. And so now I get to do that. I get to talk to them about, hey, when you go in court, don't use these terms. When you go in court, actually, be mindful of your body language. When you're talking to the opposing counsel, be sure that you don't sound antagonistic. Those kind of things. When you're meeting with the guardian ad litem, be sure to understand the guardian ad litem's role. So don't, do this. And so now I get to do that. And what happens is people not only get closer to getting the outcomes they want, they gain a little bit more confidence and they feel more empowered, where they were at that point $35,000 later, where they were at that point where they were ready to give up. They were discouraged and disheartened and feel like they had lost all control, whether they had an attorney or not. So that's why I say I do, my focus is pro se, self-represented, but I work with lawyer represented. Some people choose to self-represent because of that. A lot of people, especially in this day and age with AI, they don't want to take the risk of spending or wasting $35,000 only to end up, with nothing, nowhere near the outcome they want. So a lot of people are taking it upon themselves, whether they start out with a lawyer or not, they're taking it upon themselves to take control of their cases themselves and move forward based on what they've learned or what they're learning as the process moves along. So that's exactly what's happening. That's what's been happening. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, but it's a way more viable option than a lot of people would lead you to believe.
So I love how you are giving your own experience as a lawyer, as how you functioned. So can you give a little bit more detail as to why a lawyer can not or will not function as an advocate? Like, what is the day in the life of the divorce lawyer?
Sure. Because a lot of times I recollect, and I compare the two for my clients so they can get the visual in their head.
Right.
As an attorney, I'll tell you this. Someone would come and retain me from the moment they come to my office to consult with me for retaining, for the possibility of retaining. I'm not listening to anything but how much access they have to resources, honestly. I want to know, especially in high conflict divorces, when they're coming to me and they're desperate and they feel like their issues are urgent and there's a set of complex issues. All I'm listening for is the amount or the extent of the resources they have to pay me, right? And that's because that's what I'm being very candid. And so the moment they say, okay, I'm going to retain you, I'm going to give you the $7,500 you were asking for right now because I need you to do. Instantly, I'm thinking, okay, they didn't buzz at the sound of spending $7,500 on our first meeting. That means they're going to be an opportunity for me to continue to bill them and invoice them incessantly based on, just the fact that they have it, right? Again, being very candid. So I'm not concerned with making sure your case is going to be efficient, or making sure you get the resolution that you want, quicker rather than later, or being sure to be available to answer all your questions that have nothing to do with your case or have nothing directly to do with your case. I'm not concerned with all of that. And it sounds counterintuitive because those are the reasons why I could bill you. But if I have 20 clients who are asking the same thing of me, I'm not really trying to do that because it's easier for me to stay in that mindset of making legal arguments, presenting legal cases, then I don't have to deviate from that. And because the more you deviate from what you're comfortable doing, the more energy it takes, the more time it takes. And
Oh,
so you
yes.
can't allot all that time and energy to your cases or whatever your agenda is if you're doing that. And so a lot of lawyers, believe it or not, are very linear in their thinking. They just that's all they want to do. And I'm going to be honest with you as well. My background is mental health. So when I went into the profession, I'm thinking, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to use my skills that I developed as a mental health professional in this, in the legal profession. Let me tell you something. Lawyers are not fans of that. My colleagues are like, no, that's not what you're here for. You're here to go to court, make your argument, make the strongest argument. And for a lot of lawyers, it's a competition. That's all it is.
Okay.
And yeah, and get the judge to believe you, to actually side with you. That's it. Don't no hand holding, no explaining to your client, no trying to sympathize or empathize, none of that. None of that. And of course they don't actually say those words, but that's the impression. It's like, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. So I started to become
Yes, that's
that
what I'm.
person. I
Mhm.
started to become that lawyer because, again, I have bills to pay, loans to pay, repay. So I'm starting to become that person.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
they're making sense because they have a higher, turnover. They have a higher caseload than me. They're making more money. Apparently that's going to work. And so towards the last few years, that's exactly what I started to do. So it didn't benefit me, especially financially, to want to do all of the things that I do now. I'm not sitting with you to meet with you to discuss what a guardian ad litem is going to say and not say. Not to mention my allegiance is, believe it or not, even though you're paying me, it should be you. My allegiance is to the profession, is to the community, because I have to deal with these lawyers on an everyday basis. I have to eat lunch with the judge. I have to go to dinner with the lawyers and the guardian ad litem. So in a courtroom, it looks like, yes, I'm advocating for you, but honestly, underneath all of that, I have to remember who I'm up against. I may owe them a favor. They may owe me a favor. Either way, I have to keep that in mind. So there's several reasons why, but for the most part, it's not in my best interest to actually focus on all those things when I'm representing. It is now, though.
Okay. That was some real honesty right there. Thank you for that because I feel like you probably most people that go into law school have noble aspirations, and then you become part of the machine. And once you get out into it, I can totally see that happening. All right, so what what led you to your calling here and now? What got your attention and started you on a different trajectory?
So I had my son later in life, and it was always my dream to stay home with my child. If I ever had a child, I'm staying home. And I did. And I stayed home with him for the first 5 years. Well, in that first 5 years, he and I lost about 9 loved ones to death. And a good portion of them lived in the same house with us. So we went through a period of just grieving, just constantly, constantly. I mean, my mom, my sister, my mother-in-law, my mother-in-law's husband, my son's dad. And so in that time, I was like, I've always been one of those people that try to see that there's a silver lining, that there's a purpose, that there's a reason. Because whether you believe in God or Judah, whoever you believe in, none of your spiritual powerhouses wants you to suffer, wants to torture you, wants to punish you. So I was of the belief that there's a reason. There is something that I need to do as a result of going through all of this. And in addition to, a series of other events. But during that time, I said, you know what? You have to find something to do when you go back to work that's going to be way more fulfilling than just being part of that machine, playing the game, taking on the role, wearing the facade, doing what Romans do when they're in Rome. And initially, I actually went back out to practice, and I think I lasted 2 weeks. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It wasn't worth it to me. It wasn't the same thrill. It wasn't, but I wanted to serve the same population because, again, I felt like it if my life ended just like my families did, who ended abruptly, that I wanted to leave something meaningful, not just for my son and my family, but for the world at large. And so after that 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, this is not it. But you like serving the community that you serve. You like doing family law. And I tell you, I came from criminal law, civil law. I did it all. And all of them had their challenges. Family law absolutely has the most challenges, but for some reason, it's the most rewarding area of law for me. And so I said, you know what? You're going to have to do something because, yes, you want to do something rewarding and meaningful, and you want to serve the same population, but you also need to earn a living. And so my idea of earning a living and, coupling that with what I just mentioned was to do something that was completely different, unheard of, never discussed, never thought of ever. And that's when I created the Divorce Solutionist and became the family court strategist. This was 6 years ago. Actually, the concept came into mind 8 years ago, but it took a couple of years to go back and forth because I was still in contact with my friends who are lawyers, and they're like, nah, that's not going to work. It's not going to fly. And I'm like, and I'm one of those people that nobody's going to tell me what Tracey, you can't tell Tracey what Tracey's not going to do. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm a native New Yorker. I'm a New York City to heart. You don't tell New Yorkers they can't do something. They're going to show you, yes, they can. And that's me. And so I did. It took a couple of years and I launched it, and there were challenges because not just from the legal community, in myself, because I've had such the lawyer brain for so long, it was hard for me to identify and
Oh,
connect
yeah.
with people who are literally pro se. And then I had to find my lane because there's a lot of people who still believe, lawyers, judges, non-lawyers, who still believe you absolutely need to have a lawyer at all times and at all costs. And that's definitely not the case. So I've gotten a lot of pushback, and I still get it, actually. And so I had to deal with that, and I had to get to understand and communicate with pro se in a way that it wasn't alienating them or turning them off because you're a lawyer. How are you going to help me? Especially if I chose to be pro se. A lot of us who chose to be pro se are anti-lawyer. So what are you going to say to me is going to make me believe anything you say, you tell me? So I had to go through all of that. There were so many challenges, so many obstacles and pitfalls. And I think in the last 2 years, it's like I broke a code and I finally figured out, wait a minute. What you need to do is you don't have to be anti-lawyer because you are one. And you don't have to be completely pro se by choice, advocate, but you can be somewhere in the middle where you're focusing on helping people understand the real dynamics of family court. And you are going to show them and teach them absolutely everything you know, everything you understand from both paths, and you're going to use that to their benefit. And that's what I've been doing. It's been a journey, and it is every day. Every single day, it's a journey because I still get people who don't understand what I do. I still get people who don't understand why I do it. I still get people who don't understand why I pivoted. And, honestly, I stopped trying to convince people. Now I just, yeah, because that's not my job, to get people to believe or understand anything I do. My journey is my journey. And so that took a minute too, because, I've been indoctrinated to believe you went to law school. You're supposed to be, what everybody says you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be doing what everybody says you're supposed to be doing. And then it got to the point where I'm in my 50s now. I can't live, worrying about what people think I should be doing because that's their image of what I should be doing. And so that alone too was a challenge. It took a minute to get here, but I'm here now. And what I do is absolutely meaningful to me. I believe I'm actually doing what I've been called to do. I did good as a lawyer. I'm doing way better as a family court strategist though, in that department.
Okay, so I have a strange question based on current experience. or something that I'm currently experiencing. I haven't really asked a lot of people about this, but I feel like I went through a recovery process 4 or 5 years ago, and I was challenged in my core beliefs. And I felt like I met that challenge at the time, was able to sort through that. But recently, I'm having tension that I'm feeling based on uh, what learned beliefs versus what I actually believe. And it's in a different space than, like, I haven't gone to law school and now I'm trying to do something completely different. But it's very similar. So do you feel like you have a lawyer and a non-lawyer, like, on your shoulder, or like an advocate on your shoulder and a lawyer on your shoulder that's kind of vying for what direction you should go, or those old beliefs kind of coming up?
No, I've been through that. I'm past that. I spent a lot of time going through that actually. Now I'm at the point, and it took a lot of soul searching though. It took a lot of counseling and therapy and working with coaches. It took a lot of work. But now I'm at the point where what concerns me is more people who need my help actually finding it without the gatekeeping, without the misdirection, without the misinformation. That's concerns
Okay.
me most because I'm very spiritual. And every morning when I wake up, I remind myself with my spirit team that this is my mission in life. This is my mission. Send the people who are going to help me disseminate this information, whether no matter who it is, where they are, how they use it, that they understand that they don't have to give up so much and buy into that, that whole stereotype image or whatever, just because that's what's been indoctrinated. And myself too. I do it to to remind myself as well, because I'm not around lawyers as much anymore. And I do that on purpose because even when I am and I hear them talk, I'm like, oh my God, you sound just like a lawyer. Like no one wants to hear that. But when I
Okay.
so yeah, so I do that on purpose because I don't want to fall into that. Now, again, I don't have a lot of lawyers who are saying, yeah, people go to Tracy, listen to what she's saying. That's fine because I had to deal with that too. I had to, understand why. But I get it. I totally get it. And it sounds like, we're on opposite sides of the spectrum now. And I guess to some we are. That's fine. However you perceive me, you perceive me. That's your prerogative, but I know my mission and I know the path and the journey that I'm on. And, at this point, it's going to be hard to shake that. It's going to be hard to make me doubt what I'm doing if it's, meaningful and the right thing to do. I hope that answers your question.
So what you're describing to me is you're saying that there's something on the other side of this, as in, though that tension eases, or you are able to quiet those voices and come into who you fully are right now eventually.
Yes.
Is that what you're suggesting?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. But it takes intention. It takes a conscious effort for me to do that every day. I do that. I spend time just being in that space and doing these affirmations to remind myself. Absolutely. Because of the challenges. The challenges are always going to be there, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you
I have
remember
also
from if lawyers were esteemed. Like you say lawyer, and it's still like it gets this, this lit up reaction from a lot of people. And so when they hear the follow up to, okay, well, I pivoted. It depends on where you are. They're like, well, some people are still like, well, why? Puzzled. So yeah, and before it used to bug me, like, oh wait a minute, I'm questioning, I'm doubting now. But now it's like, yeah, well, let me explain to you why. Let me explain to you the difference, and let me explain to you, how it benefits people.
right. Um, I feel like as I've shifted seasons, the the people for those seasons have shown up, as in, when you are going from one season to the next, are evolving, and sometimes people fall off along the way, but new people who are in line and aligned with the direction you're going show up.
100%. Absolutely.
All
This
right. Um, tell me. about either tell me either self-representing or someone that's come to you after a bad lawyer experience or continuing to use their lawyer,
Oh my
and a little bit
goodness.
of
I'm gonna
what they would have gotten and what how you were able to uh, result in a fair divorce.
sure. Well, this one was what's called a post judgment court custody case. And I've been working with this person. She wasn't self represented. She had an attorney, but she knew that I existed. And so she wanted that added layer of strategy for her case. And so we worked with each other over a few years, actually. Well, her case went to trial earlier this year, and she didn't work with me on trial prep, which is something that I offer as a service as well, to work with people on trial prep, because I think it's important, especially important for trial. But she came back to me and said, "You'll never believe the outcome." Now, when we were working together, the case is in Florida. She was asking for a switch from 50-50 custody to sole custody because the other parent was doing things that were a fly in the face to justifying continuing 50-50. And so from what I read, what I reviewed with her case and discussed with her case, it was not a slam dunk because they don't exist in family court, but it was a sure thing. And right before trial, I guess she had to spend $30,000 just on trial. So she didn't have the money to keep going with me, but I worked with her up until trial. So I was familiar with her case. And she came to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Guess what? I lost trial. My lawyer lost at trial." And I said, "What?" And she said, "Yes." And it's primarily because my lawyer didn't present evidence. My lawyer didn't prepare properly. My lawyer didn't prepare me. And I'm thinking that's what everybody says. Those are the top, three of the top 10 complaints when people have lawyers and the case doesn't work out or turn out the way they thought. And sometimes it's beyond the lawyer. Sometimes it's the judge. Sometimes it's the timing. Sometimes it's just things that you don't have any control over. So I assumed that was the case for her, even though I worked with her prior and knew she had a sure thing. When I read the actual judge's decision, she was right. The lawyer completely dropped the ball on her entire case. Didn't even try to present evidence, didn't make a strong argument for why mom should get sole custody, didn't, and how I know? Because the judge made references to that in the actual order. The judge and you don't get that at all. You don't get a judge basically calling an attorney out in their order. Well, this judge
Oh
did.
my God.
Yes, this judge did. This judge said, had the argument been made for blah, 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 had certain evidence been presented for mom, blah, blah. She said this. The judge said this. So I said to mom, "You absolutely need to file a motion to re-argue. The thing is, you only have 15 days and you have to get the transcript." And she said, "Oh my God, let me get the transcript. And Tracey, I need you to do this for me." And I said, "Sure." I can't, she's in Florida, so I can't actually prepare the motion for you, but I can actually either you do it and I review it with you, or I can get one of my paralegals to do it, who I work with independent contractors all over the country. And she said, "Whatever, I need this done because I thought it was just me. And for you to say this is telling me that I'm on the right path." And so the unfortunate thing was, and this is a typical gatekeeping move that courts do. Her transcript alone was $2,200. $2,200.
Oh my gosh.
So now she had to figure out a way to pay me and to get the transcript, and after she'd already blown $30,000 extra. And so, unfortunately, she couldn't come up with the money in time. She couldn't even come up with the money to get the transcript, let alone pay me $2,200. And so it's unfortunate because I was ready. I had started doing some of the research. I started checking out the rules and the grounds to make sure that whatever road she decided to take, that I was ready to supplement her where she needed to, be supplement. She had a court order that actually said the judge spelled it out for her, made her motion to re-argue or renew very easy. She laid out the framework. And that's all she had to do was plug in what the judge said, attach the transcript, and she would have gotten the re-argument. She would have gotten it because the judge set it up that she would. I think the judge did that intentionally because she probably felt bad. And so I reached out to her 2 weeks later and I said, hey, listen, what happened? The 15-day passed because I didn't know. She said, I couldn't afford to get the transcript, let alone pay you. It was either or. I can only do one. And we couldn't do the motion without the transcript. It was just not that's just not the way to do it. And unfortunately, she said, so right now I'm stuck with 50-50 with the dad who doesn't take care of our child who has special needs. And so I said to her, you know what? A lot of times what happens in situations like this is he's going to do something else. He's going to mess up. He's going to
Yeah.
this is the rope. You're giving him the rope. He's going to hang himself and then you'll go and file it for a modification later on down the line. Hopefully nothing bad will happen to your son in the meantime, but at least you have that because you have nothing else. But can you believe that her lawyer and my guess is she had a potential malpractice claim against the lawyer. Yeah. And I didn't really research the lawyer because normally that's where I start to get an idea of who this lawyer is. I didn't do that because I already put in work on her case, her post-judgment case without being paid. So time is money for me, unfortunately. And once you start researching things, you can easily go down a rabbit hole. You can think
Oh gosh.
you can find something, you think you're going to find something in an hour and then it takes you 6 hours. And there's no way I can commit 6 hours to somebody's case and they don't have the money to pay me for that. So, but yeah, that I would have looked up the lawyer and any other key player in that case just to give her an idea of how to position herself moving forward. But yeah, and I get stories like that I get quite often. A lot of times they're exaggerated, but when I actually dig and look at what played out in the courtroom or in the case, I usually spot at least 3 or 4 things that the lawyer could have done. And here's the thing. Lawyers will tell you there is no right or wrong way to do things, and there isn't. There's a better way, though. There are better options. When you make informed decisions, there are better options that serve the client's overall objectives if the lawyer takes time to really dig and position everything around that. Incorporate the judge, incorporate the opposing counsel, incorporate the guardian ad litem's position, incorporate all of that into the game plan. They could probably come up with a better outcome or, narrow the chances of getting exactly what their client want. Family law attorneys have the highest dissatisfaction rate in the legal industry. There's a reason why.
Gosh.
There's a reason why.
Yes. I do not have an insanely obnoxious story like that, but I have my own experience with family law lawyers, and it is it is disturbing, and it's something you cannot it's something you can't know until you're not. I mean, nobody's going to preemptively go and research family law before they are in the position that they're in. What I love about your story is that not that your personal story is that you have been able to merge your passion, your heart with your experience and your knowledge. And now you're able to give that to the people that see the value in that or have experienced the lack thereof and now have a resource to do that. And you can practice in every state, which I think is phenomenal.
Yes.
What is currently bringing you joy in this season?
Oh my goodness. First of all, I love this time of year because it's a great chance for renewal. It's a great chance for getting rid of, purging, disconnecting, disassociating, cutting ties, all of that, and starting new. And, a lot of people say that sounds crazy. Who wants to go through that? Because some of it is painful, but the coming out on that other side to me is the joy. We have an empty canvas where we can write paint
Yeah.
exactly what we want to happen. And I do that every day. So this specific time of year is that time where I'm like, yes, let me get all the paint out and all the biggest canvas I can find and just start getting to work and painting things exactly the way I want them to be painted for over the next several months and, in the future. So that brings me joy right now. And I'm going through it right now. Painful and uncomfortable and inconveniencing and all of that. But the on the other side is exactly what I look forward to.
All right. I love that answer. And that is exactly the season we're in. Tell us how to get in touch with you.
So my website, thedivorcesolutionist.com. My social media is on Instagram is the Divorce Solutionist. On Facebook is a Pro Safe Family Court Strategy. I'm on TikTok as the Family Court Strategist. And I have a YouTube channel. It's called The Divorce Solutionist. And I have a podcast that comes out every Wednesday called Self-Represented in Family Court. And so, in the simple way, emailing me at divorcecoachesq@gmail. I'm always answering my email. So thank you so
All
much.
right. Yes. Yeah. And I will say, I'm not on all those platforms, but I can say that you are giving great inspiration and great information on all those platforms as well. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much.
much for your time today.
Thank you. It was awesome.
When's the last time you were working and completely lost track of time? Recently, this happened to me at a coffee shop. I was planning to work for a couple of hours, and 6 hours later, I realized I was still there. Not because I had to be, but because I was working in my working genius. What if more people got to work that way? That's the idea behind Enjoy Workforce Solutions. Recruiting built around how people are wired to work, so the right role energizes them, and your team feels the difference. Discover what that could look like for your organization. Visit Enjoy Workforce Solutions.